let's go over here. So we've got this walk cycle. This is a basic vanilla walk or character walk for the Zelda rig here that I had done on stream a while back. And really there's not too much to it. It's a nice forward walk. But let's say we want to take this walk and turn it into a treadmill walk. Like I said earlier, a treadmill walk is a walk that stays in place. It doesn't move forward, it's just cycling. How can we do that? Well, if you have access to animation layers, which you do in Maya, this is actually very easy to do. So what I need to do is I need to take the forward translation of the character and reverse it. Remove that extra motion and kind of keep the character in place. So there's a few ways you can do this. My personal favorite is simply taking the control of the hips, the main one that is pushing your character forward. So in this case, it's going to be this control right here. And I'll go to the graph editor and I will simply copy the forward translation curve. So I select it right here, edit, copy. There we go. Now I will create a new animation layer. So an animation layer in Maya is just a way of kind of adding extra animation over top of the existing current animation, which is really nice and adds a lot of polishing that you can do. In this case, I'm just going to click this plus button right here. This will add our new animation layer, and I'm just going to rename it to Reverser. So this is what I usually like to call layers that will reverse an animation. Now, with this selected, I need to select everything that's going to be moving forward. So if we look at our walk here, the things that are moving forward are the feet, the knee PV controls, and the hip. If I had IK hands, those would also need to be put into this layer. So I will select all of these, the feet, the knee PVs, and the hip control. And I could right click on the animation layer and add selected objects, but that would make a new version of every single curve on all of these objects. So I'm going to have translate X, Y, Z, rotate X, Y, Z, the FK, IK switch. I don't need to worry about those. I just need that forward translation. So with the reverse animation layer selected, I'm going to go to my translate Z attribute in the channel box, right click on it, and down here, I'm just going to hit add to selected layers. What that does, and you can see it in the graph editor here, is it just puts those specific channels into this animation layer. So I've made a copy of sorts of just the translate Z, not every single one. This makes it a lot easier to work with, and I don't have to deal with as much information. It slows down Maya a lot less too, especially if you've got a very heavy rig. So we can double check that the translate Z is added because you can see how it has this kind of dark teal blue color in the channel box. This means that it's being controlled by 2 layers now. So with this and my reverse animation layer selected, I'm going to go to frame 1 and set a key on all of these right there. Now I'm going to select all of those keys in the graph editor so I can double check that it's selected on all of my controls by going through here. Let's just double check. So set a key, select my translate Z. Okay, there we go. It's selected on all of them. And I'm just going to go to edit, paste, and double check my settings. So I'm pasting the curve that we had copied originally, the forward body translation curve. I want to paste it at the start of the cycle, or if I'm already on frame 1, on my current frame right there. And I'm simply going to insert the animation into my graph editor right there. So with that, I'll hit paste keys. And there we go. We get our curve right in there. Now, if we look at our animation, our character's sliding now. What happened? Well, I just doubled my animation going forward. The character is being pushed forward, one by the original animation, and then being pushed forward again by the reverse layer. To make it work, I need to reverse the reverse layer. I need to flip it. To do that, I simply select the curves right there, edit, scale in the graph editor, and make sure that your value is set to -1. This will flip the curve. Boop. There we go. Treadmill walk. Done. To make sure that it stays the whole time, the only thing I have to do now is select all my controls again. Let's undo so I have them selected. Perfect. And I just need to make sure that my curve is set to infinity. So post infinity, cycle with offset. There we go. Treadmill walk, done. Easy. That's it. Now I accidentally selected the ground layer here. Don't need to do that. So let me actually just clean that up a little bit. If I did want to have the ground move under the character, this would also work very nice. But there we go. We've got our treadmill walk. So reversing a forward walk into a treadmill is super easy. Now, let's say we want to do the opposite. We've got our treadmill walk now. How do we get the character to walk forward? Well, it depends. And the reason why I say it depends is that it depends on how accurate we want to go with it. And it depends because it depends on how our walk is. This is a linear walk, which means the character is at a constant speed the entire time. If you have a character that has a limp or this kind of shuffling walk, that adds a whole other element. So let's actually take it simple first. I need to have this character walk forward. And I just want to do it quick and good enough. It doesn't have to be perfect. The character might be seen from a distance. It's really not, we don't need like pixel perfection. Well, honestly, the easiest way is to do it the same way that a game engine would. So I can just take the root control here of the character, and I'm going to take my forward translation curve. I'm going to just make sure I have a key at the beginning and at the end. I'm going to move it up so that I nudge the character forward. So let's zoom out here, move this up, and let's just see how the character feels. That's a little slow still, very slow. Whoop. There we go. Now we're getting somewhere. Okay, now I'm going too far. So you can see I've just got this curve and it's set to linear mode, so it's just a straight line. And I can just adjust it until I get the walk to feel right. And honestly, it doesn't really take too much time to get this dialed in. So that would be the rough way of doing it. So right there, that's pretty close. From there, I can just polish it and get the fine tuning. So let me actually show this. So what I would do is I would just zoom in on the foot here, kind of watch it a little bit. Okay, it's still sliding forward. So let's move the character back a little. Okay. There we go. We're pretty close. That's it. Done. Now, what are the pros to this? Well, one, it's fast. From a distance, especially like if we have a character walking from over here, you're almost never going to see those little foot slides. Two, this is how a video game engine would work. So if you're wanting to replicate how your character would work in a video game, this can kind of give you an idea. So that's really it. But let's say we need it to be a little bit better. We need that extra quality. Maybe for some reason our walk cycle is going to be visible like right up close. We've got this close up of the character walking through, and if there's a little bit of foot slipping right in here, like right there, you can see that foot sliding forward ever so slightly. We don't want to have that. We want to make sure it's perfect. Well, we have to go through a few other steps. And I'm going to show this with a different demo here. So let me actually open up a scene here. So this is a walk that I'd animated just before the stream. I think this is a very basic walk. And I apologize if there's any little pops or wiggles to it. So let's take another stab at this. So this is a walk. It's just a little limp. Character limping forward. So we've got steps that are offset, where one step is very fast, one is very slow. How does this work? How can we get this to work in both ways? To make it a treadmill walk and also to get out of a treadmill walk. So let's do both again. So in order to create a treadmill walk, once again, we just select the main body curve, translate Z, we'll copy that, and then once again, take all the controls that are going to move forward. In this case, it's the feet and the hips, like so. I'm going to create a new animation layer. I'm going to call this my reverser. I'm going to add my translate Z. And then in the reverse layer, just set a key and paste. There we go. And then I will scale the curve to flip it. Done. Treadmill walk. So, and then I just need to make sure I set that to curves, post infinity cycle with offset. Done. Easy. So let's make it from a treadmill walk. So let's say we've animated this normally, we've animated this as a treadmill walk first, and now we need to transition it back. How would we do this? Well, let's try the other method we had used first, just to see if that'll work. So I'm going to move this forward and make sure my curve is set to linear. And Sin, hey, how's it going? So let's move this. Okay, foot's still sliding back, so keep moving that curve up. Now it's sliding forward, move it down. If it's sliding forward, you're moving too much. If it's moving back, you need to increase it. Okay, so as we can see, as I get it close, let's say right here, see how the foot right there is sticking almost in place? But then as we go, like there's moments where the foot sits still, sometimes it moves. There's no consistency here because the walk itself isn't consistent. There's no way that I can just take this and copy it into a forward line to make this walk work. It's just not going to. So I need to go through more detail here, and I need to reverse engineer the walk ever so slightly. So this is what I like to do when I need very exact treadmill walk to forward walks, where I need that pixel perfection. So I'm going to show a couple of ways I'll do this. And in order to do this, I'm just going to take my two layers here and I'm going to merge them together. So this is going to make it into a true treadmill walk. Now it's going to look a little broken here because I just need to set my curves to infinity. There we go. So now this is a true treadmill walk. There is no forward motion. I've lost all of that forward curve in my walk here. So we've got a treadmill. We need to transition it forward. How do we do that? Well, when we did it the other way, we just copied the body curve to the feet. But what if we take the body curve and transition it to the feet again, but reverse it this time? We're on to something. Except this is a treadmill walk. This is my forward translation on the hips. There is none. The character is literally staying in place. So what do I copy? What do I use as my base to keep this character moving forward? What you need is the moment that the feet are supposed to be still on the ground. And this is where it becomes a little complex, but really it's just looking for the still moments. So if I look at this walk here, while this foot is on the ground, flat, it shouldn't be moving right here. As that foot's flat on the ground, it should stay there. Now, as that foot starts moving up, the other foot right here is flat on the ground. It shouldn't be moving. It should just stay there. Well, now we're getting something where we know what we need. Once he takes this next step here, now this foot needs to stay in place right there. Okay. We need to reverse those specific foot positions. How can we do that? Well, let's make a new animation layer. I'm going to create a new animation layer. I'm going to call this forwarder. This is the thing that's going to make our character move forward. So, what do I need in this layer? Well, if I'm going to be moving my entire character forward, I'm going to need the feet and the body and anything else that is moving forward in the scene. So this would be like pull vectors, IK hands, anything like that. And in this case, I just need the translate Z, the forward motion. So I'm going to take my translate Z and I'm going to add that. Once again, right click on the channel there and add to the selected layer. This will add a copy of those curves into my forwarder curve, my forwarder layer. And I'll just set a key on there because I know I'm going to have to start setting keys. Okay. What do I use though? What do I need to copy? Well, we need to mix and match. And this is where it's really just paying attention to what curves you need at what time. So let's go back to our base animation layer here and look at our shot. As this character walks forward, this foot is supposed to stay still. So, how long is it supposed to stay still for? Well, really up to frame 4. At frame 5, you can see that the foot starts to move a little bit. Now, technically, the toes don't start moving until frame 6 or 7, but for safety's sake, I know that that foot does not move for those first 4 frames. I need to reverse this motion that's happening here. So, I'm going to take the foot and take its translation here. I'm going to take the first 4 frames. Go to Edit, Copy. Then I'm going to go to my forwarder layer, select all of my objects here, and paste those first 4 keys right there. Okay. Now, you're going to start noticing some stuff where the character starts to really move in weird ways here. That's fine. This is because we're doubling the amount of motion we're getting. So now we get here. From frame 4, the screen right foot is staying still. So from frame 4, that foot shouldn't move. It shouldn't move until the next foot plants down on the ground. So that's going to be around frame... I could probably go frame 28 right there. And I'm just watching this control right here, the actual foot control. You can see that it doesn't move. It's slipping backwards, but it's not shifting or rotating. So from frame 4 to frame 28, let's go back to our base animation layer, take our translate Z, and then from frame 4, make sure you select frame 4, all the way to frame 28. We're going to copy that, go back to our forwarder layer, select everything, and then on frame 4, I'm going to go to Edit, Paste, And I'm going to make sure this time, I really need to make sure that I insert the pasted keys and I connect them. This will connect them to the last frame right here that's already in your graph editor. And I'm going to make sure that it's set to current so that it copies right on frame 4 where my time slider is. Paste. There we go. Okay. Now, frame 28. At this point, we're already at frame 28. From frame 28 to frame 35, this foot is the one that needs to stay still. Right there. So, back to our base animation layer. Select this foot, translate Z from frame 28. Again, you want to make sure that you select the last frame that you had before. We need to have that same thing. If we copied frame 28 last time and then we go to frame 29, we're going to be actually missing a key. We need that overlap. So from frame 28 all the way to the end, copy. Once again, select everything, go to our forwarder layer, and paste. Right there. Okay. Now, just for the sake of it, let's make sure we turn on infinity curves. Like that. And what do we have? This. Yeah, not quite what I wanted. That's because I haven't made it go forward yet. I just need to select my entire curve. Edit, scale. Again, set that to -1 to flip it. Boop. There you go. Perfect walk cycle. Going forward, no slipping, pixel perfect. These feet are not budging an inch. Perfect. I watched where the feet are supposed to stay still, and in those moments, I copied those curves in that frame range, pasted it, took the next moment where the next foot's supposed to stay still, and I just went through my whole shot. And if you had multiple limbs, so a character with 4 limbs, it would be the same thing, watching when the feet are supposed to stay still, copying them, and then pasting them and reversing it. Or in this case, forwarding it. And there we go. Done. So that's pretty much it. We get this nice forward motion. Now, there is another way we can do this, which is, let's say we don't want to apply it to everything on the character. So instead of applying them to the feet and the hips, like we did right here, we want to apply it to the root control. It's honestly the same thing. So this would be more of the video game style for it. Now, the reason I want to show this, honestly, it would be the exact same workflow, but depending on the rig, there's something you have to watch out for. So let's do this here. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to take that forward translation here from the body. I'm going to copy it. And let's turn off our forwarder layer right there. So now we've got our walk back on a cycle, on a treadmill. Let's make a new layer and we'll call this our root forward. So this would be like a video game engine. So if we want to test how this would work for a video game engine, the video game engine takes the root control and moves it forward. So forward. And I'm just going to take my root control and take its translate Z and add that to my layer right there. And I'm just going to I'm going to paste the animation that we already did onto this. So it would be the same workflow. If you were doing this right from the start, it would be watching the one foot, copy that chunk, put it onto your root control. Watch the next foot, get the chunk where it's supposed to stay still, copy and paste it onto your root control, etc., etc. Now, the problem, let's paste this. Boop. Look at that. Our curve, just the way we had it before. Yay! No. Something's wrong. Something is oh so wrong. What happened? All of our hard work, non-existent. There's a problem. There are times and there are rigs where there is going to be an offset between the main rig controls, so for example, the feet, the hips, all of those, and your root control. This is really just based on how the rigger created the rig. Normally as animators, we would never notice this. It's not going to come through. But when we are specifically copying curves and trying to create this relationship between things, this becomes noticeable. So I'm going to prove this by showing this. And this is the way I actually figure out how to solve it as well. So I'm going to create a reference. And let's bring in another copy of this rig, just to make sure that we have no animation. What we need to do is we need to find out what the discrepancy is between the root control and the main control. And I brought in the wrong rig. Let's create a reference and bring in the correct rig. Polly. There we go. And Tara, thank you. Okay, so let's prove this and figure out how to solve it. So I've got this rig here. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to move the character. Well, let's just do this. We need to mark where our character is going to be. So I'm going to create a locator right here. That's going to be one of our markers. And I'm going to take the root control and move the character 100 units forward. So it translates that I'm just going to move the root control 100 units. Okay, it goes there. Now I'm going to take my locator and move that 100 units forward as well. Ah, would you look at that? They match. That's good. I know that the root control is moving in world units. Yay. Okay, let's set this back. Now, I'm going to take the hips here and move those 100 units forward. Oh, where did it go? Over there. It's the same amount, a value of 100, but look at how far it is. It's not working in world units. I can obviously see that right there compared to the locator. So, how far is it moving? To figure that out, I'm just going to create a duplicate of my locator. Just hit Control D to duplicate it. And I'm going to constrain the locator to the body. So, go to my animation menu set here. And then I'm going to go to Constrain, Parent, and make sure Maintain Offset is turned off. Oop, it snaps it right there. So, it's actually 494 units forward. Because I'm using the locator is always going to be in world space. So it's going to tell me the actual distance that the character traveled. So we've got a difference of 100 to 494. And Sarah, hey, thank you so much for the sub. Aw, thank you so much. Jeez, a year. Wow, congrats. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Yeah, exactly. Something got scaled, Tara. And this can happen. This happens. I've seen this happen on many rigs. And the thing is, we're never normally going to notice this unless we are dealing with these values that have to match, which is very rare, honestly. So how do we get this to work? Well, we just have to figure out what the ratio is. How far or how many times faster is the character moving? With this, it's a little bit of math. If I moved 100 units there, I just have to divide that by 100 units. So that would be 4.94. If it's some weird values that you really need to do some math, you can actually do that in Maya. So just, let's say we've got this and it's 494 right there. I can just do divide equals 100 and that'll give me the value. I'm not going to do that. This is why I always use a value of 100 because it's easy to kind of divide it down. So I just divide 494 by 100. That gives me 4.94. And I can just go into my graph editor here, select my root control, And on that forward curve, I'm just going to multiply it. So go into the value box here with the curve selected, times equals 4.94. There you go, done. Fixed. That's it. So if ever you notice that there's a discrepancy, especially when you're using the root control, and you try to copy your curves and it's not working, reference in a new copy of the rig, figure out what that discrepancy is, and then just multiply your curve. Done. You should very rarely have to do this. Honestly, there's not that many rigs that are set up this way, but it is common enough that it's good to have in your back pocket in case it does happen. And either way, whether we use the root control like we have here, so you can see the root control moving forward, or the actual controls moving forward as if we had animated normally, you now have a forward walk out of a treadmill walk. So hopefully that helps. It's really not too complex, but it is one of those tricky things that at first glance it seems like it's going to be much harder than it actually is. As long as you watch for where the feet are and when they're supposed to stay still, it's really not too complex. So Sylvia, I hope that helps. Hopefully it makes sense, and hopefully it'll help in whatever shots you're working on.